We will have deep conversations on various leadership programs and general management profiles being offered by big diversified Indian groups, as well as top e-commerce firms that we have. And to discuss all of this, we have with us today Mohammad Irfan, who is portfolio manager and credit analyst, fixed income investments with Aditya Birla Group. We have Mitranjan Bhaduri. He's the head of category sales and marketing for Amazon Business Marketplace. Then we have Akriti Agarwal. She is associate director, growth marketing and planning at Flipkart. Then we have Venkatraman Prabhu, known as Venki, who is AVP and head IT strategy and planning, Geo Platforms Limited at Reliance. And the last on the panel is Milind Apte. He is CHRO, C8 Limited, RPG Group. And last but not the least, I'll be the moderator of this panel. Now, whenever we talk about leadership programs or general management profile, the first thing that you will hear about is that these programs are the best stepping stone for anybody's career because they give you multiple opportunities. So let me address this particular aspect first, and let me come to you, Venki. What is so different about these leadership programs in different companies, and especially at Reliance, and why are they treated as the best stepping stones for a student's career?
So first up, thank you for having me here. It's a pleasure to be here. And in August company, really. So see, my view on this is kind of simple. With respect to leadership programs, typically organizations, look to leadership in a very, future sort of view, with a future viewpoint. So essentially, they are looking to identify young, leadership talent early and groom them into the future leaders of the company. At least that's the philosophy we follow at Reliance. And we have a very strong Reliance Emerging Leaders program. It's been running in some shape or form for the last past decade, in fact, from 2011 onwards. And essentially, the ingredients, the core ingredients haven't changed. We have actually made enhancements based on our learning in the past, decade as to how these. In 2018, there was a major revamp that we did to the program. But essentially, the core ingredient is this: we are looking to, people who demonstrate, specific leadership traits. Now, we understand that, there are a lot of skills you can learn. There are a lot of skills that you can, you go to an MBA program, you learn about business skills and, various other skills. But leadership is something that can only come from practical experience. So we basically have three elements to this. We believe in exposure. So, exposure to various circumstances, live situations. So the leadership program that Reliance runs, Reliance Emerging Leaders program, has a significant focus on providing, young MBAs and people who have probably not had that much of a exposure to corporate life, get into the thick of, critical projects that Reliance has. And it's what we have realized over the past few years is that it is actually a game changer for us, because we get the best of both worlds. These new people who join us, the aspiring leaders who join us, they get exposure to real life critical projects. And we, on the other hand, get, a lot of fresh ideas, fresh thinking, great new blood coming into the organization and, shaking things up. Second is we focus a lot on learning. And this is, again, very pragmatic, practical learning. So the REL program gives a lot of opportunities to these people to actually upskill in various aspects of leadership and general management. And the third most important aspect is that we, truly believe that Reliance is a family, right? First. So essentially, these selected, Reliance Emerging Leaders get to connect with senior leaders, top leaders. In fact, even the chairman meets with them, and you have, small, events right through the years, and something as simple as coffee with a leader or lunch with a leader, or, there are a lot of things that they do, which actually give them a practical view on how a leader behaves and, in the daily corporate life. Now, of course, with this whole pandemic situation, we have had to adapt a bit. And most of this is virtual now. Earlier, it was more of a physical connect. but we have tried to ensure that the flavor does not get diluted through that. I think that is crucial. I think these three aspects are what sort of put Rel slightly
And
apart
Pinky,
from
how
others.
much time do you give them in terms of what is the overall stint of a person who's entering at Reliance for the leadership program?
Yeah, so they are given specific projects like I mentioned. So there are basically minimum of 2 projects, 6 month stints, which they so they are based on the key projects that are available at a given point in time. They are assigned these projects and they are given a mentor and a buddy as well in the project. The buddy is typically to help them navigate the, because they're new to the culture, they are new to the environment, so they help them. And the mentor is basically who will be responsible for their growth and their
They'll have at
progression.
least a year before they actually make
Oh
it.
yeah. 1 year of rigorous, intensive. That's the REL program, and of course, after the REL program, there are many other internal initiatives that they are, then available. They are available to them to take up pursue, like
Sure.
the career acceleration program, and there are many such things. So
Sure.
that's very interesting. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Venki. My next question is to you, Irfan. In terms of Aditya Birla Group, just like other conglomerates as well, your companies range from fashion to construction to insurance and whatnot, right? In the same leadership program, how does that program look different for these companies within Aditya Birla Group?
Thank you for having me, and good afternoon to everyone. On behalf of Aditya Birla Group, welcome to the program. So on this topic, right? How does leadership differ with different group companies? The same leadership program. See, every large group has companies and businesses which are at various stages. So some are mature, some are young and growing, some are global, some are extremely local. So to that extent, the challenges that are faced by these companies are very different, and the kind of leadership skills that are required to kind of crack those problems and solve them are also very different. So, but that does not mean that you only need one kind of leaders, right? Which is why almost all the companies that are on this panel, they have what are called as general management programs. So, if you say fashion versus construction, so I would just recall that when I did my project or first year stint in Ultratech Cement way back in 2013, my project was on digital strategy for a cement company. So that was like really unheard of at that time in 2013. Today, of course, everyone has a well thought of digital strategy. But what I'm trying to say is that even in companies where you feel that there is probably not a particular space to do something which you feel is there in another business sector, that is not true. As far as large groups are concerned, they require talent in all kinds of functions throughout the group. Fashion to construction to metals, you do require the same kind of skill sets, maybe in different measures at different points in time, but it's essentially similar. So in Aditya Birla Group's leadership program, what we have is an immersion, just like how my peer Venkat was talking about. We would have the first year, you would be doing 3 stints of 4 months each. So this will be in different functions, different businesses, and for some of them in different geographies across the world. So the idea is for you to immerse yourself, get exposed as much as you can and learn. Now, there are some businesses within the Aditya Birla Group where you would need specialist skills also. So, for example, retail. So they do have their own kind of hiring, and even telecom. They had their own kind of hiring where they would target their own set of B schools and their specific kind of talent. But conceptually, what I wanted to drive home the point is that it doesn't mean that a leadership program is geared towards a manufacturing sector or a services sector or a retail sector. No, it's all skill set oriented. So it's about developing the right skill set and ensuring that a leadership talent pool it's fungible. So that's the basic philosophy, at least at the Aditya Birla Group.
Sure, thanks. And Milind, let me come back to you and extend this same question. because at RPG, you also hire for some specialized roles. So, for example, in CET itself, you hire for sales and marketing roles, right?
That's right.
How do
That's
you
right.
differentiate or distinguish between the career path of these two roles?
So thank you and good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for inviting me to this esteemed forum. And so, Ankit, just to answer, while we have entry, which we have for specific functions, we really make career fungible in CET or RPG, right? So I think the idea is you have an entry point into sales and marketing, but if you look at character and competence, I think our entire drive is towards building character along with competence. And the idea is to really move people from one function to other. So somebody may come in sales and marketing and there is movement every 2 years. It's mandatory movement every 2 years. And we, in fact, in our management committee, we track every campus recruit. And if there is no movement beyond 2 years, there are hard questions. And movement happens practically immediately, right? So I think it's diverse experience, and the entire character demonstrated by the new entrant is what we see. We have many successful examples of people who have transitioned from HR GMR program and have become head of international business. And similarly, one of my quality assurance management trainees is my factory HR head in my Nagpur factory today, right? So I think career, for sure, if somebody demonstrates right character along with the competence, one can assume the CXO position in 12 to 13 years. We have a very, very recent example of one of my colleagues becoming a CHR of one of our group companies in exactly 12 years after she joined as a management graduate, right? And again, I think just to narrate, its entry point is X, but we encourage people to practically move functions because the entire focus is on building general management capability, true fungibility, as Irfan also spoke about it, and at the same time having excessive importance on character, which we want people to demonstrate.
Okay, thank you so much. Just to tell everybody, we have about 1,600 people playing the treasurant, and about half of them have moved on to multiple questions. Coming to you, Akriti. So we have had 3 diversified big groups talking about the leadership program. And e-commerce companies have created a big wave in the job market in the recent past. And now all you e-commerce firms are also shifting from specific roles to a general management program, right? What is the difference in a similar role in a new age company like yours versus traditional conglomerates?
Sure. So thanks, Ankit, and good afternoon, everybody. So yeah, there is, if we talk about e-commerce and Flipkart in specific, right, it's a very, very fast-paced environment. Things are rapidly evolving. We learn things and, we evaluate things on the go. So there is extremely high level of ownership that we place on our new hires. Very big scale problems that we encourage each of our management trainees to exhibit early on. In our company, no matter what level you join at, each person is here to make a difference, and even the problems will be very, very real business problems, right? So with very high level of ownership is one. And secondly, we also encourage mobility. In fact, for the management trainees, there are already 2 stints that are planned within different functions, different businesses. And we have a wide range of functions and businesses ranging from, sales, marketing, planning, analytics, business finance, supply chain. So many, many different roles and functions. So yeah, we do encourage mobility for our management trainees, and even as a part of Flipkart, in no matter which stage you are in, whether it is even the leaders, there is mobility across functions and teams and businesses that we actually pride ourselves in, right? So we create a all-rounded experience or exposure or understanding of e-commerce for anybody who joins us at Flipkart. So these are the two things that are very different: extremely fast-paced and therefore extremely high ownership, and secondly, very high mobility, and encourage you to take whatever you could get on your plate and exhibit your skills, and show that entrepreneurial spirit in you in different functions and teams.
Yeah. I think one distinct factor in the e-commerce, or rather, let me make it generic, right? In the startup community, where you're actually getting into a new industry or a segment itself, that whether you are a newbie in the company, the experienced people are also learning with you because the market itself is evolving. So you may not get that kind of a helping hand that you get in traditional businesses because they've seen decades of learning and growth, right? Coming to you, Mitranjan. So last year, you basically created Amazon Future Builders program on similar lines. I know for a fact, because we've been working with Amazon, that this is my personal experience. In last year, I guess, when we were for summers at Ahmedabad, Amazon was there hiring for multiple roles, right? Product manager, program manager, AWS. And I think starting last year, you basically put that across into one role, which is Amazon Future Builders program. So what kind of a value do you provide with this kind of an approach to the students? And what value do you drive from this program as a company?
Yeah, thank you, Ankit. And first off, good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here in such esteemed company. At Amazon, pretty much everything that we do is customer backwards, right? We pride ourselves in being a customer-obsessed company. So this entire piece of developing AFBP, or Amazon Future Builders program, actually took inspiration from what we were seeing on campus, what we were hearing from our customers, which in this case are the MBA students. And we realized that they see a significantly greater degree of assurance in being in a program that provides them a structured growth path as opposed to standalone roles. So the intent in creating this program was to provide specifically that value. Right? And we also took inspiration from some of the really successful Amazonians and the experiences that they have been through that have helped shape those competencies which are required to, let's say, lead a business at Amazon. That was the genesis, and what it ultimately boiled down to was, hey, what we are trying to do is set these folks who join AFBP up for long-term success in Amazon. And we could identify certain pillars, and those pillars are very common to what, let's say, Venki spoke of or Irfan spoke of. In our case, there were four. One, on the job, and there isn't really a substitute to on-the-job learning. So we do put them in multiple stints where they face real-world business problems and solve for them. It gives them that actual real-world exposure that, as you said, their colleagues who are the more experienced colleagues have also been dealing with. Two, we realize that many of these folks come with possibly less work experience, and throwing them at the deep end of the pool right at the start might be a little overwhelming. And for that, what we've done is we've created a 2-month incubator right at the start of AFBP, where we introduce them to certain concepts that are peculiarly Amazonian and it takes to succeed at Amazon. Maybe thinking backwards or thinking scale, building mechanisms. And at the same time, I think Venki was also mentioning this, there has to be an immersive functional upskilling that we provide to these participants so that they're equipped to take on these different leadership roles that they're being thrust into. Third, we have the benefit of leadership experience. So we get them to come and interact with candidates on a regular basis and talk to them about how Amazon innovates on behalf of customers. What are those uniquely cultural traits that allow us to think long term and use technology to transform millions of lives that Amazon is transforming worldwide. And finally, we felt there was a personal touch needed. And this is a personal touch that many of us Amazonians have benefited from, which is the personal touch of mentorship. I think Milind and Irfan also alluded to that. The idea being that every AFBP participant is assigned a mentor from the exact same function, kind of makes them a kindred spirit to bounce off ideas fast. As you mentioned, there are a lot of these things we are learning on the go. It's a significantly ambiguous environment, and it fosters a spirit of collective learning as we go towards it. So, in short, we are providing these pillars to help candidates shape their careers into future builders at Amazon. And at the same time, we are learning from their diverse experiences that they are bringing to the table.
Sure. And
diverse ideas.
How long is your Future Builders program for students?
Before this is a 32-month program.
Select one career choice?
Yeah, this is a 32-month program. We start them off with a 2-month incubator, and then we have multiple stints rotating them across different roles.
Okay, all right, right. And also, let me also sort of throw this question again to you, Mithranjan. So lately, okay, off late, I've been seeing many companies. So when anybody on campus thinks about marketing, they think about FMCG. But off late, in the new age companies and all startups like Amazon, Cred, Dunzo, Zomato have been pushing the envelope when it comes to marketing, those viral campaigns, those creative, right? And this shift is also happening from FMCG to new age companies. Is this the reason why aspiring marketers have started preferring new age companies over traditional companies? At least when we talk about this segment.
Yeah, interesting question. I mean, if I were to talk about what shapes my preference for a role, it would be two things. One, is this role allowing me to evolve with the industry and hopefully even stay ahead of the curve? And number two, is this role allowing me to make a meaningful impact to the growth of my organization? Let me double click on the first point, right? All of us know and acknowledge that customer behavior has evolved. Their media and content consumption habits have evolved. Over 500 million Indians now own a smartphone. Approximately 80% of them are online. And I think new age marketing firms provide two very important levers for us to be able to keep pace with this evolution. One is data, and the other is technology. And why are they important? See, in an ideal world for a marketer, every communication should ideally be one-to-one with the customer rather than the traditional one-to-many means of communication. Right? And we at New Age firms have the ability to collect massive amounts of information about customers, their preferences, their behavior, and then can use analytics or ML models to accurately and granularly segment customers and then target them with very personalized communication. And it's not that we're abandoning the traditional means of marketing, right? We're just clubbing them with the new age techniques to create an integrated marketing strategy. So, for example, when Amazon is trying to communicate that we have massive selection, not only do we use a campaign like Or Dikhao, but we can also use much more personal techniques like sending a push notification saying, "Hey, you bought an iPhone. You might want to check out these iPhone cases." And now coming on to the second point, which is the growth part of it. I think more and more in new age firms, marketers are responsible not just for delivering impressions, but they're responsible for delivering customers. They're responsible for delivering revenue and growth. You will frequently see such marketers chart out GTM strategies that will influence how the organization drives growth. So much so that at least in the new age companies, I see marketing managers more as growth managers.
And I think nowadays what's also happening is that somehow when you're interacting with the users or the consumers, you're also inherently informing them about your culture because they're interacting with you on a day-to-day basis. Venki, let me come to you. I mean, Reliance has been there for decades now, Okay. And you have been sort of shifting, or I would say vibrantly changing your culture to a startup culture. I know Reliance is startup at heart, right? What initiatives have you taken so that that is also communicated to the student community?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Interesting question. I think as I was thinking through, a lot resonated with what Mitranjan was mentioning regarding, the need for the new emerging leaders to sort of be in tune with what's happening, and so, because everything is changing so quickly. And you are right. Reliance has always been, an entrepreneurial sort of culture at heart. And because our founder chairman said, think fast, think big, think ahead, ideas are no one's monopoly. And that's sort of a mantra that we, I think, follow quite religiously. All leaders, and I'm not just talking about new MBAs joining, all emerging leaders, I'm talking about just all leaders, all employees in the organization are encouraged to sort of find their entrepreneurial spirit, right? Do intrapreneurship, if you will, identify opportunities that can enhance certain businesses, or even find new channels of, new channels for revenue generation. And these kind of things are encouraged. We have a portal called Mission Kurukshetra, which is highly successful. It was, I think, in the news also recently for some awards that it received for, fostering the entrepreneurial spirit within the company. And that's actually one of the initiatives. The other thing is that we have realized that our young guns are the ones with a lot of new ideas, with sort of uh, the ability to challenge us and challenge the way we are doing things, the status quo, and bring in new ways of things. So we have also leveraged, there's the ultimate pitch. I'm sure you're aware of that. The ultimate pitch is a
We do.
B school competition. Yeah, you, I think, partner with us on that. So so the ultimate pitch has also, what it has done for us is twofold. One, it is of course a B school competition, so it gives opportunities to the various B school aspirants, I mean B school MBA grads out there, to showcase their skills and their talent. But when that competition comes home and when we hold it in house, I mean, it actually sparks off a lot of entrepreneurship within the organization as well. It's a win-win actually, in a way. And internally we also have a lot of initiatives that happen from time to time, which actually allow, in fact, in the Reliance Emerging Leaders program, there are the projects that these emerging leaders are put on are also of of that nature. Because we have to look for, the criteria is very simple: something that can actually be executed within a 6-month time frame, right? Which is relevant to the organization, and which allows the Reliance Emerging Leader to bring their own entrepreneurial spirit to the table. So it is these criteria that are, very carefully, though we curate these projects very carefully based on these criteria. All in all, I think, Reliance, and I've been with Reliance for almost a decade now, 9 years. And what I've seen is really amazing, is because, I've actually been a consultant, and I've seen at least 9 or 10 Fortune 100 companies and various MNCs. And what really amazed me about Reliance, and which is something that is very unique about Reliance, is that it is truly committed to this spirit of entrepreneurship within the organization. It is absolutely committed, all the leaders. So in a sense, even if you have a very senior leader sitting in the room with you, and discussing a certain idea, the young leader out there, the emerging leader, or a young employee who is there, has, and this I can speak from experience, we never feel the need to hold back, right? So the culture is such that it fosters a sense of entrepreneurship. It allows ideas to flow smoothly, and we have a lot of constructs that support that idea itself.
You know what? I mean, in one of our brainstorming meetings, and this is, I think, a couple of years back when I was at Reliance, we were constantly talking about entrepreneurs. Okay. And somebody from the senior leadership program talked about that, hey, let's not define people as entrepreneurs, right? Let's try and inculcate a feeling or entrepreneurial mindset. And that is what these leadership programs are all about. Okay. Coming to you, Milan. Uh, so, see, the experience that one gets in a leadership program varies from company to company, right? The journey that they can actually expect in a leadership program varies from company to company, that we have seen here itself, right? All of you have different programs catering to different skill sets because you're from different backgrounds. Now, what is a journey like at RPG, and how do you make it unique? So that that person is basically inclined towards making his career within RPG itself. Milind,
Right.
are you with us?
So Ankit, I can. I lost the last part of the question.
So I was saying that how do you make it unique? How do you make your leadership program unique for RPG?
So apart from, I think the standard 1 year induction, which has many cross-functional stints, we have a unique value proposition called the FLB, Future Leadership Board. And again, as Venki was speaking about, I think I was quite intrigued to know what Reliance is doing. Future Leadership Board is all about picking live projects which are extremely business critical. So, for example, some of the big decisions which business wants to make, and let's say take example of CEAT, and if you want to really spread ourselves in USA and we want to go and roll out a truck bus radial tire, should we be getting into it because it's massive investment over a period of time? Now, these are the kind of projects which are being anchored, driven by these young campus graduates, right? And people get about 3 months. So as Venki spoke of 6 months, I think what we do is we have 3-month project and 3 by 3. So it's 3 projects of 3 months duration, directly anchored by the management committee, nobody in between. And these guys have to come back once every month, speak about the progress, nobody involved in between. It's an agile team. They're empowered to make choices. So if you see the entire learning part, this is how exactly people move. We have made many functions fungible. So for example, you have manufacturing, supply chain, procurement as one group, right? And what we do is every 2 years, we are moving people from one function to other function. We have within RPG, we encourage GMR fungibility across group companies. So wherever we find synergy. So for example, HR, you will see a lot of people moving across group companies. Procurement, you will see a lot of people. Supply chain, you will see a lot of people moving across group companies. Now, what this does is it gives a lot of visibility to respective management committees of the entire GMR talent pool, which is available with us. And what we have also done is, because the character of every sector is different, and we are a very varied group of companies, we wanted to just make sure that the GMRs of any particular group company do not succeed or grow much faster than any other group company, right? So I think what we have done is we have a framework also across the group companies, and provided there is right competence and right character, people grow in a standard framework. And the example which I gave, that you have an opportunity of actually taking a CXO role of a smaller company within RPG in 12 to 13 years, right? So I think the way I would define it is, for GMRs, the ask is a lot. It's tough. It's challenging. We really push them very hard. Our belief is we want to really test their character from stint to stint. Obviously, I won't talk about reward recognition and everything else, which comes at standard. I think we make sure it's honored exceedingly well. But I think it's a lot of push, a lot of hard stints, but with extremely handsome reward in the end. It's all action learning.
Good. Milind, because you talked about CXOs, Irfan, my next question is to you. Many a times on campuses, see, it's all about glamour. I mean, when you enter into a B school, the glamour is that you go to MBB for consulting, or you will become a CXO or a CEO one day of any company, right? And that is the intention of people joining these leadership programs, very frankly, right? So how do you manage these expectations and growth for an incoming MT?
I do agree with you on the point that there's a certain amount of so-called glamour attached to securing your fastest route into the CXO or the boardroom. But the thing is that for most students, those who realize early on that it's not a race to the top, but it's about building the right set of skill sets, which I've been highlighting earlier also, that it's all about skill sets, right? Today, information is available. You most probably don't need to be on this panel if you want to know what Aditya Birla Group Leadership Programs. There's a website for it. So, information is available, learning's available. So every finance course, every marketing course is out there. So what you learn from an MBA and then what you learn in a company are basically skill sets as to how to apply them in real life, right? Like as our panelists have been talking about. So it's not really easy to tell someone that, hey, you know what, it's probably going to take you 10 years or like 20 years to become a CXO. Because that's not the right answer. There are CXOs there are people who started as CXOs, right? From in today's entrepreneurship world. So the idea is we do not tell people that, you need to spend about 10 or 12 years or 15 years to become CXOs. So that's not the way we manage expectations. What we tell them is that, okay, do you have XYZ skill sets? Okay. Yes, no, some of them partially. And for those where you're partial and what you don't have, these are the kind of opportunities that we have. So some might be cross-functional, it might be really challenging for you. Some might be cross-business. And some, because at the end of the day, it's not, as you move up the ladder, you will realize across companies that it's about making people work with you, right, to achieve results. So you might be a great individual contributor, which is what MBA schools kind of hone people to, be good at, through our GPAs and our, assignments. We always are said that, okay, what's your GPA, and what was your 10 standard marks. But later on in life, you realize that to grow, you need to make sure you work with people. So all of this comes with working in a firm through various roles. So as you build these different skill sets, some functional, some behavioral, then yes, you will become a CXO. It's a natural, because let's understand the other main thing which I wanted to highlight is that 50 years or 100 years ago, there used to be family-run businesses. Capital wasn't so fungible over the world. Today, capital and CHROs like Milind Apte will find the right talent. So everyone is mark to market, today. So there needs to, there's nobody who's stopping you, from achieving what you could, versus, hundreds and thousands of years before us. There was so many, there were capital constraints, there were social constraints, there were education constraints. Today, all of that is breaking down at an extremely fast pace. So to someone who's coming to Aditya Birla Group and saying, hey, can I be a CXO in 10 years? I'll be like, hey, you could be in like 3 years if you have it in you. But do you have it in you? And can you prove it to everyone? And can you drive results? That's the question, which ABG, Reliance, Flipkart, Amazon, RPG, every company out there is asking. And they want the talent who can do that. That's it. It's simple as that.
Sure. Thank you. Akriti, let me first ask you an audience question. So Sneha from the audience is asking you, and I quote, I'm from a hotel management background, and what are my prospects of getting selected for your program? And what to do if you don't visit my campus? We don't know which campus Sneha is from. So that's why I'm assuming that she would have done her homework. But what's your response to her?
Sure. So, Sneha, thanks for your question. So again, we at Flipkart, we believe in diversity, right? Diversity in multiple aspects, right? Multiple diversity, be it from your background, not just gender, right? Typically, people believe diversity is just gender diversity, but we think we go much beyond that, right? Whether it's your educational background, your work experience background, or your thought process, or the company you come from. Everything is we're very flexible, and we are a very diverse organization. We have very diverse roles as well. So it doesn't matter whether you're from a hotel management background or any other background for that matter, right? We believe that if you have the right intrinsics, you can succeed, right? And some of the key intrinsics that we believe that we need at Flipkart is, one, very strong bias for action, right? A person who has the will, who has the inclination, who has the right mindset to run towards the targeted goals. That's one. We want people who are very, very customer centric. Everything in our business revolves around customers. As I said, it's very fast paced, so we need to understand what our customer preferences are, and emulate or actually offer the customers, what is changing by the day. Right. So be very customer first. Bias for action background absolutely is, doesn't matter. It's the right intrinsics. You if you want to succeed, you will succeed with the right intrinsics.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Akriti. Okay, let me ask you one question each, the same question. Okay, because I think this is very, very point blank, though it is not framed in that manner. But when students will hear it, they will get to know. So this question, I'll start with you, Venki. And I'm just reading out the question. If you were to hire an animal, what kind of animal would you hire and why? Three qualities of that animal that should resonate within a candidate. How do you identify these qualities in the CV and or through interactions with that candidate?
Wow.
So first, you need to tell what three qualities. So eventually, what animal, which three qualities, and how would you identify those three qualities?
All right. Very interesting question. Well, see, quite honestly, this is a personal opinion that the human being is probably the worst animal out there. But I'm going to sort of maybe make a choice from, I'm allowed to take up some prehistoric animal, right?
Yeah, any. You only have a minute to answer.
Wonderful. Okay. So for me, I think it should be a velociraptor. Have you heard of that? The raptor? I'll tell you. Basically, three things, that just pop into my mind when I think about a raptor. They're intelligent, smart, and goal-driven, right? They look at. So if you are on the hit list of a raptor, then I don't think anything can save you. Essentially, they are very goal-driven and very perseverant, right? They don't give up easily. They're very intelligent. Most importantly, they work superbly in a team, right? Collaborate superbly. They utilize their strengths effectively, identify weaknesses in the target and leverage those. So, those are the qualities really, quite honestly. So you got to be smart, got to know your own weaknesses and strengths. You got to be able to work in a team. You should be able to, collaborate really well. Right. And you should be very perseverant and fanatical about a goal that you want to achieve. Right. You have to have that vision and you have to be able to have the wherewithal to pursue that vision. I think that's what it is.
And how do you see that in a CV? Because
that's very tricky to answer within a minute. But I'll tell you this: CVs are not something that we put too much stock into. I'll tell you why. Because there are a lot of consulting firms out there who will make a wonderful CV. I mean, you wouldn't believe your own CV once you've gone through that, if you send it through there. So CVs are not really what we look for, quite honestly, is the attitude. And we do behavioral interviews, and we look at the candidate, the kind of experience the candidate has been through. And most importantly, in any circumstance, what we dive into is how have they responded. If they have made a mistake, it's okay to make mistakes. Failures are stepping stones, right? We don't have anything against failures, but people who kind of hide their failures or are ashamed of their failures are typically not really leadership material. You got to be able to accept your failures, learn from them. So we really look at, how the candidate has taken every opportunity that has come his or her way, and how they have responded to critical situations, crisis situations. How is their way of thinking? How do they approach certain problems and situations? Those are the key things that we look for before we hire, and we look for that specifically from a leadership potential standpoint.
Sure. Irfan, your response to the same question: animal and three qualities.
If Venki can go for prehistoric, I'd go for something which doesn't probably exist, a dragon, but then, because, MVP, right? You're a dragon, you're MVP. So, but then, to kind of, in the spirit of discussion, it'd probably be an elephant. So, because I think that, most of the qualities of an elephant are geared towards both the survival of its own species, as well as contribution to, sustainable contribution to the environment and, people at large. So because an elephant can be in the wild, it can be it can be domesticated, it can be, venerated. It's also extremely strong, extremely intelligent, has a great memory. Doesn't destroy the lands that it roams in, knows how to work in teams, takes care of its young. It's an animal which I genuinely love, but I know your next question, how will I find one in a CV, right? So I think when I look at a candidate, right, like just like Venki said, it's about attitude, and most people talk about culture now. So culture eats both strategy and.
I'll tell you what. The next thing that the students would be thinking is that you're saying that nothing happens in a CV. Then how do you shortlist us? Or when we apply at 500,
No, I'll tell you.
how do you shortlist people?
Okay, so how does okay? So this I realized quite maybe 2-3 years after my B school. So just sharing it here. So all your all your GPAs and all your pointers, everything. What are you doing? You just it's all signaling, right? So all you're trying to do is that, given on a ceteris paribus basis, given all else is equal, because we assume that anyone who's cracked any of these campuses we are going into is intelligent, is probably hardworking, and has most of the other skills that we want. So then how do we move to the next stage? So ceteris paribus, these are the signaling factors that you use in a CV, and that's all a CV is. So of course you need to make, once you go to B school, you'll understand, oh, it is a one-page CV, 4-box CV, all of that jazz will come in, but just understand at the base of it, it's just a signaling effect, right? So once you go through the door into an interview, or even in a career, you are the CV. That's it. The paper is just for you to signal that, hey, you know what? Look at me first. That's about it.
I will try and choose somebody who is known. I've been struggling with this question, but I think what comes, looking at RPG and what we are really looking at, what comes to my mind is a horse. And, I particularly resonate with the tenacity. You see a horse practically in every war, which you have seen traditionally, right? And the kind of tenacity, no fear, they're out there, they're leading from, actually they are the vehicle to carry all the aspirations and the wherewithal and the power and the aggression. The second one which I see in them is agility, right? They're very agile. So they're able to change direction very, very quickly, gain momentum, and the kind of stamina they bring on board is unthinkable. And very focused. They don't look left and right, and they don't compare themselves with anyone. I think that's the big one I would look at. Because if you see B school particularly, I think my biggest worry when I look at B school, and Irfan was referring to the CV right now. Now you pick any CV, it all looks the same. And if you bring a lot of focus on extracurricular activities, everybody has been a part of some or the other group, right? So how do you really differentiate? So focus, what focus really means is you really don't get into competition at all. There's the one thing which B school brings on board is only heavy competition, right? And like Mohammed Irfan spoke about and Venki spoke about, how do we actually bring the spirit of team? So will you bring focus and really look at what's your potential and what you can deliver very honestly without looking left and right? I think that's something I would bring on board personally. So three big ones. And probing, I resonate with Venki. So I think it's deep probing, as Venki was really speaking about. To my mind, it's understanding the ups and downs in a candidate's life. I think it's in true sense understanding the experiences, responses, and the way people have really fought against the odds. I think that's something we go very, very deep into. So probing is a big one in our mind.
Okay. All right. Coming to you, Mitranjan, only 1 minute.
Yeah. So see, Aristotle didn't philosophize for nothing. If people like me were to not use his words to wriggle out of difficult situations like this, right? He said man is a social animal. So I'm going to go with that safe answer and pick human beings here, right? And I'll cut to the chase. Like, what are these qualities, right? I'll merge the two answers. I think what Amazon looks for are 14 leadership principles, which give us exactly as Irfan was saying, a signal of how they are suited to work in Amazon and grow as a long-term bet in Amazon. Now, if it's an onerous task to distill that into three qualities, but I'm nevertheless going to try. The first one, I think, is humility. Humility to say that we can be wrong. Humility to say that we are never done learning, so we should keep learning. In my mind, the second one is the risk-taking ability, the ability to and the gumption to fail. Because if we are not failing, we are not doing enough new things. And the third one, to not just think about themselves, but think about others too. And others in this situation would be the customers. Others would be their overall company. Think of it as an owner. I think all of this comes together in what Jeff Bezos always maintains is the singular trait of any good leader. It is the ability to be right a lot. So that's what I have.
Thanks. Akriti, coming to you with this last question.
Yeah. So if I were to answer in a minute, I would choose a very different animal. I thought of an ant. An ant is a very small animal, right? It's a tiny animal, but it makes a lot of difference, right? So it doesn't matter which level you are at, right? Where you join. How senior, how junior, whether you're a management trainee, whether you're the CEO, right? Everybody here is going to make a difference, right? So that's what I fundamentally believe in. I've also been with Flipkart for about 6 years now. And I've seen that in every step of my journey, right? Even early on, I come from a consulting background, have also worked with multiple companies, but I feel, the fun is when really the rubber hits the road, right? So you see a lot of action, you contribute in that action, and that's what I feel ants really do. They in The second thing that stands out is that they work in teams, right? Nobody succeeds standalone, right? They cannot make a difference standalone. So at Flipkart also, I believe that the difference that we make is only when people come together, cross-functional teams work cohesively with different objectives, but kind of the same end goal. Right, so that's the second thing. From a CV standpoint, agree with Irfan and with Ranjan that many things in your CV are just lead indicators, but also participating in real life problems, case studies, or for that matter, showing working in environments that requires you to work in teams, solve a certain problem collectively versus just individually, right? Because eventually it's a team that succeeds. It's not just the leader, right? A leader will never succeed without a team, right? So we want people who can work in teams, work together, work cohesively, and deliver impact, right? So I would urge people to take part in case competitions, whatever opportunity that your B school offers, and these schools provide a lot of opportunity. So you are headed in the right direction. I would just say make the right choices. Don't be blinded by this is right or this is wrong. Just try out multiple things. Expand your horizon. There are many more companies out there, right? There's in my time, we used to just think, there's consulting and there's finance, right? They're like the two things, and everything else is miscellaneous. At least like I passed out a decade ago, right? So that's what we used to think. But I would just urge everyone to think broader, look at, what's out there, participate in things that help you achieve that goal, right? And eventually you should do something that you enjoy. So
I think the top audience question, and which we missed answering in our earlier one, is that if you don't come to our campus, what is the channel to get inside? And trust me, because we didn't answer it, there are hundreds of people who have voted that question that we need an answer. So just to cut it, I think Akriti did answer that now, that there are opportunities like case competitions, and many of you have it. So I know for a fact that Flipkart does, Flipkart, Wired, Amazon, Ace, ABG used to do, Stratos, RPG does, Blizzard, and Reliance does the ultimate pitch. And many of these competitions are open to the whole segment. So let's say I take an example of the ultimate pitch, right? So it's last year it was open to all the B schools, and the winners basically get a shot at the pre-placement interview. So if you are not from the campus where they actually go and recruit, these are the routes to actually come inside and get into these companies. And similarly, all the other companies are expanding their base slowly and steadily to maybe not all B schools, but more B schools than they used to visit or they visit last year. And that has been the trend. The next question, I think, in the audience was on the background. We are from a tech background, which is majority of the incoming batch is, whether we'll be able to make cut into these leadership programs or not, right? So I won't throw this question to each one of you. Probably I will answer it and then I will go to you for 5 seconds. Just say yes or no, whether my answer is correct or not. But the leadership program, as far as I know, is independent of your background. So any company would want to hire as many diversified people as they want, because diversity is now a keyword. Trust me, we have just done a diversified hiring hackathon with Walmart. We were expecting 5,000 registrations. We got 55,000 registrations, only girl coders in Pan India. And everybody was surprised. So that's why the background and all, the more diverse your background is, you have an advantage. But that doesn't say that if you're from a tech background and you're one among the, let's say, the other herds, you won't be recruited. It's just that your story needs to be very, very good. I hope I answered this question on behalf of all of you in the interest of time.
Absolutely, yes.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you, Irfan, Mitranjan, Akriti, Milan, Venki, for joining us. I'm sure these are the kind of deep conversations that we wanted to drive through the Ignite program, and the new incoming batch would have found it very, very valuable. Thank you so much for coming in.
Pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Okay,
much.
Right.
now let's go to the next segment. So we talked about the Ignite hunt, right? Personally, I am surprised the way you guys have hopped onto it. We see close to about 2,500 to 3,000 people actually making the cut and moving beyond those levels. Now let me reveal all the answers to level 1 after this. So the answer for 1 is orange. Can we have that? Yes. Okay. And the answer for question 2, can we have question 2? It's Aditya Birla Group. I'm sure many would have cracked it. Question 3 is See It. Question 4, Flipsters. Question 5, Shrikant and Chilam. Question 6, Portia. And question 7, or rather, even before I move on to the next question, this was level 1. Let's now see the top 20 people who have crossed level 1 the fastest. And let's give them a big round of applause. Can we have that on screen, please? These are the top 10, Hita, Ashish, Siddharth. Then we have the next 10, Rajya, Saranya. Congratulations to all of you. Thank you so much. And as I can see, 1,000 people are stuck on this question. So I'll probably spend a few seconds here. This is the question. You won't see that in the platform. I returned to India in 1957 and started a yarn trading business in Mumbai. But my dreams were big and my ambitions higher, because of which we are admired. Brotherhood is in my name. Commitment is in the blood. What is my first name? Mind you, it's not just any 9-letter word. I'll give you 10 seconds to again read through it if you want to take a screenshot, but I'm sure you will find this very, very nice. I'll give you 10 seconds. We have 1,000 people on this level. I hope after this, there will be many more people who are moving forward. And for the other guys who are stuck at 1 to 6 levels, now you know the answer. Go on, move on, and go to level 2. Awesome. Now let me reveal the winners of some of the social media campaigns that we did during the registration period of Ignite. The first contest was from ITC, and we have these winners: Chirag, Isha, Faizan, Harsh, Zenifer, Shrishti, Rishika, Rajat, Priyasha, Nitin. Congratulations to all 10 of you. The next in line is another contest from Aditya Birla Group, and we have Aman, Aniket, Ayushi, Harsh, Manoj, Vishakha, Shivam, Sheetal, Priyanka, and Parul. Congratulations to all 10 of you as well.